Bill Sattler is the founder and prime motivator behind Madhouse Creative. Under Bill's leadership, the Madhouse team has grown in size and stature, earning prominent local and national accounts, including Bayer Healthcare, AT&T, Yahoo, The Andersons, Owens Corning, and General Motors. Bill is a respected, sought-after artistic director who brings a calm demeanor and generous wit to any problem-solving scenario. Would you please welcome to Shop Talk, Bill Sattler.
Well, thanks for having me. I don't know how much anybody knows about Madhouse, but I brought our reel and I was going to play that for you just to give everybody an idea of some of the work we do, and then I'll get into some of my topic. We work with clients, large and small. We work with a lot of clients around here, and we work with some national clients. We worked for a think tank from Italy, which none of us ever really understood what we were making or talking about throughout the entire video. But we have a really good, we've had a really good chance to work with a lot of different kinds of clients. What I wanted to talk about today was, well, let me back up. First of all, I've given a few talks before. It might not look like it, but I have. But every time I've given a talk, I've been given the topic. I've been handed the topic, and it's really based on the audience. I talked at a couple of business classes done at BGSU a couple weeks ago, and it was all about entrepreneurship, and I had to talk about how I failed as a business person and all this stuff, and it was depressing. But they were a really good audience, though. But this, I wasn't really given a topic. Scott just said, can you help us out with this thing? So I wanted to do something that was pretty near and dear to my heart, and something that we deal with all the time, and I'm kind of assuming that you all do too. You could tell me if you don't, but it's the balance between doing the kind of work that you really want to do creatively, and all the while pleasing the client and solving the problems that the client has. This gets talked about every day in our office, all the time. Sometimes people are yelling about it. Sometimes people are happy about it. Sometimes we get good emails. Sometimes there's bad ones. I think do we all kind of feel, yeah, okay, all right. So I have a little disclaimer right up front that this is all opinion. In fact, we have arguments in our shop. We just had one yesterday about some of the things I was going to talk about. And it's healthy and it's fun, and it's cool that we all kind of have different ideas, even though mine are right and theirs are all wrong. So I'm going to lead in with confidence. We talk about confidence all the time, and how when I first started out at an agency, it was like, I don't know, first month when I started out, we had a little retreat, and it was cool. We had the whole creative team, and we went down to one of the hotels that changes names like every other week downtown, and we went into a conference room, and we started talking about the business and our experiences. And the first question that one of the designers asked to the other designers was, do you consider yourself an artist? And I was like, what the hell kind of question is that? Yeah, I'm an artist. That's what I went to school for. That's what I do. I can say that now that I'm old, I kind of gone a 180 on that. And I feel like what we do is not really in the artist's realm. This is where everybody disagreed with me at the office. But what I think we do is we solve problems. And that has helped me with this whole tension between what the client wants and what we want and what we want collectively. No pun intended, collective. So to me, being an artist is about personal expression and is mostly about personal expression. Design has elements of personal expression, but there are problems that you need to solve. There are audiences, there are parameters, there's sizes, there's dimensions, there's all these things that you need to fit your solution into. So we kind of try to back the personal expression out of it to try to solve the problem for the client. And that just mentally helps me get around when a client says make the logo bigger. Because it gives me so much more ammo. When I try to sell a design, it's based on the research and the audience and our process, and it's not about whether the client hates the color blue. Well, I mean, how many people have run into that? I actually had that phrase said to me. I don't like blue, don't use blue. I mean, what? Anyways, I mean, I'm not fond of brown all that much, but I mean, it works in a lot of things, So confidence is a big part of this. We end up bringing on an intern usually every summer, and we work the crap out of our interns, and they gain all this experience throughout the summer, and then we end up hiring them. So in turn, we usually end up hiring a lot of young people, which is great for us, older people. It really helps get fresh ideas, and younger people are always less afraid to try new things and to come up with cool ideas and see what other people are doing and go the opposite direction. And that really helps Madhouse with the way we do things. The flip side to that is the lack of confidence when it comes to clients with young people. And this is something that I deal with all of our young people that we hire, is I have to, after 6 or 8 months, I always have to have this conversation. And we go to lunch or something, and I'll say, you need to have a little bit more ego. And that sounds really weird, but it's really hard to describe. I'm sure that you can all relate, but you have to have enough ego to where you want to own that project and you want to make it as good as you possibly can make it. But you have to be able to take criticism and back off and understand what the problem is. And are you presenting a solution, or are you presenting your next portfolio piece? Because that's really the crazy, blurry middle of it. We all want portfolio pieces. And we try to make a portfolio piece out of everything. But when you're starting to take the aesthetics over the problem solving, that's when we get into major problems. And for young people, most young people, it's harder to do. It was hard for me when I was, I just hit your mic, sorry. It's harder for me. Side note, I just heard this interview with Seth Meyers, and he was talking about starting his, did you guys hear this on NPR the other day? It was on Fresh Beer. And he was like, he didn't know what to do with his hands. I feel the same way. So anyways, where was I? So what I try to tell our young people, and I don't have all the answers, and I tell them that too, but I try to say that you went through school, you are getting put through the ringer at Madhouse, and you're doing all these jobs. You got to stand up for your work. So we really try to stand up for all the things that we do. It's hard to stand up for something that you do that you didn't put the research in, that you don't feel 100% about. So that's the challenge, is that we try to do all of our projects to a certain level that I can walk into a meeting with the designer and we could flat out argue if we wanted to. Now, nobody really wants to get in an argument with a client, and we don't normally. We have on occasion, not on purpose. But nobody wants to get in an argument. I honestly think that clients want us to be creative. They want something aesthetically pleasing. But in most cases, there are so many parameters that get in the way. I think they need to be helped through, and that's our job. That's what we do. That's one of the problems that we try to solve. We also talk about why they hired us. If we get into a situation where make the logo bigger, I hate blue, this, that, and the other thing, my wife doesn't like the horse on the cover. That actually happened to, oh shoot, this is going to be online, isn't it? Okay, all right, I'm not going to give names. But anyways, my wife doesn't like the horse. I have said in a lot of meetings, and I try to be nice about it. I don't know if it comes off nice. I try to be that way. But I say, well, why did you hire us? You hired us to do our job. You came to us. Most of our work is referral. So you came to us and you expect a certain product from us. And that's what we want to give you. So let us try to give you that. But we want to take all the feedback. If you hate things, we want to take it. If you feel like it's wrong, if we're not seeing something, then we need to listen. We can't not take criticism. That's just ridiculous. But we do want to fight for our ideas. The other thing is, I try to state to all my clients that we bring a perspective, and you all do too. You bring a perspective that's outside of the company. A lot of the times we work for these companies that they know their product or their service so well that they want to tell you how to design a promotional piece or some sort of advertisement. But they don't think about the people outside of that business and what they're going to think about it. That's what you all, and that's what we all bring to the table. That's really valuable to them. And a lot of times that's the clincher. That's my ace in the hole. That kind of gets some things through because we've thought of some things that they haven't. So that's really important. A lot of times we'll go into a creative pitch or something, and the client, we just had one recently, went all the way up to the CEO, and the client said, okay, love the idea, but let's do it this way. And it was completely different than what we had thought. I mean, we're open to criticism, we're open to new ideas. A lot of times clients have great ideas. This one wasn't a great idea, and we just didn't feel like it worked. And it was coming from the CEO, and we felt like we were under the gun, and this was going to turn out bad, and we didn't want it to turn out bad, and we said, thanks, but no thanks. And that was really hard for us. I like to say yes to everything because of the payroll thing and all that stuff. Talked about that in my entrepreneurship class. So we said no. We said no thanks. And we were kind of shaky and we didn't feel good and everybody had stomach aches. And then we got a phone call back that day and said, okay, do it the way you want. And we were like, oh, whoa, okay. And we did it. And the client after the fact said that it was the right decision and thanks for sticking up for your ideas. And that is huge. I mean, that was the first time that's ever happened. And not that we're going to do it very often because it's still really uncomfortable, but it was really good for us. On the flip side of that, a week ago, I shouldn't have said that either. Just recently, I had a new client we haven't worked with called us and wanted us to do a small print job for him, and really small print job. And it's not a corporation. It was a very small entity. And I didn't know the person. I don't know where they got her name, but I talked to him about it, and I said over the phone, we might not be a good fit. You might be better off, with a freelancer who could spend more time with you, and maybe something will be a better fit. It just didn't, at this point in my career, I kind of know who we work for and who we do our best work for. And he said, no, I really want you guys to do this. I think you'd be great for it. So I was like, okay, all right. So I had him in, and he'd never done this before. He'd never worked in this business at all before. And so I kind of walked him through it. That's another one of the points I wanted to make is honesty. I was very, very honest with him. And I said, look, this is probably going to be more expensive than it needs to be. This could be done in-house. This could, there's a lot of templates out there. There's a lot of things you can do. No, I want you guys to do it. And I was like, okay, I'll give you an estimate. And I thought that would be the end of it, right? How many times have we been there? I'll take the time, I'll make the estimate, and we'll just chalk it up to experience. He said, okay, when can we start? Oh, God. Okay, well, he's a really nice guy, and let's do this. So he came in, and we pulled up his website, and he instantly said, we want that on the cover, and we want that there, and we want this here, and we want that there. And I said, whoa, wait a minute. That's not how we work. Let me explain how we work. You tell us what your problem is, and you tell us what you want to do, and we'll come up with the solutions. And I'm not saying we're going to get it right, but we have a pretty good track record, and I think you might like to see our perspective. Right? I used that thing again. So that's what we did. Got an email back like after we sent it to him. Yeah, that's great, thanks. Can we get that image that I showed you from our website, and can we do it just like I told you on our website? And I instantly was like, oh, there were a few words I don't want to say on the cameras, and I was like, and I wasn't mad at him. I was mad at myself for not standing up and saying this isn't a good fit. I knew it wasn't a good fit from the very beginning. Now we're gonna do a nice piece for him, and we're not gonna let him down. But I think you have to know who your client is. You have to know who you're working for. That's a huge part of this. If you're working for somebody who doesn't really understand what you do, that's tough. That's really hard. So I had a good story and a bad story. I wanted to temper the one with the other. One of the things that we do that I don't feel like everyone does is we try to make it easy for the client through the creative process. So if we get a pitch or an RFP or anything like that, we don't go, like, let's say somebody wants to rebrand, they want a new logo. We don't go to them with 10 or 15 logos. Absolutely not. Even if it's asked, we don't do it. On the first round, 3 is about our tops. If we're asked to come up with a website design, 1 website design. And we put everything we have into that one. I always feel like when you, I touched the thing again. I always feel like when you're asked to do 2 or 3, you do the one that you really, really like, and then you're like, oh shit, I gotta do 2 more. So, let me bang these out, and then we'll get it in front of them. But how many times have they picked the one that, yeah, right? They picked the one that you didn't want them to pick, and it was right. So we focus on the one that we did the research, we looked at the audience, we tried to figure out what the user wants, all this kind of stuff, and we show that one, and we sell that one based on all that information. It doesn't always work out, and everybody wants to see more. But we try to push them into, well, let's make modifications to this because we did all this work to get to this point. Let's try, if it doesn't, it doesn't, but let's try to work on this piece. That's normally a battle with larger companies because I feel like when the budgets are higher, people want to see more things. That doesn't always make sense to me. Quantity, over quality doesn't really pan out usually. Does anybody else do that? I mean, does anybody else have that philosophy or you do? Good, because I don't think that I'm alone in that. Good. I mean, everybody else could have chimed in, but nobody did. So, awkward pause. So the other part is that I want to talk about was taking chances, taking risks. And we've kind of built Madhouse on this premise in a sideways kind of way. I am of the opinion that most clients need to see what you're talking about in a more finished fashion than maybe a graphic designer is used to thinking. Wireframes for a website are great, but the client always says, well, I don't want all the boxes to be gray. You know, you're like, this is not a design. So what we try to do is do all the hard work and then go further than the client ever thought we were going to go on that first round. I did this when I was first starting out, and it kind of worked out well for me. If you take something to kind of a realization, and you know, we might do a storyboard, but the storyboard frames almost look like finished frames on a TV spot. And that makes a huge difference. Some we don't. Some we do sketchy because you just don't know what you're going to get, where you're going to shoot, where it's going to be. But a website design, yeah, we'll show a sitemap, we'll show a wireframe, we'll talk about the process, we'll talk about the user interface. But I like to show a design and win the client over with the look and the feel and our idea, our whole approach. It kind of takes some of the question marks out of it. The downside is we get burnt. We've been burnt before, not very often, but we do get burnt. You get a lot of time into something like that, and they say, no, you got this wrong. The user will never do this. And then we're like, okay, crap, we got to go back, and we did too much. But for the most part, and again, I don't know if we're alone in this, but we do take it quite a ways down the path. One of the examples I wanted to talk about was the Stroh Center wrap that we did a few years ago. The client came to us, BGSU came to us with an idea for like a little short film. It was an appreciation to the donors for giving all this money for the Stroh Center. And they wanted to run a video at the opening of the Stroh Center, and the donors were going to be there. BGSU had a pretty cool idea, and it was kind of a short film idea, and we were going to include the donors in it. And it ended up, we got way down the line, kind of got backed up against the deadline, and the donors didn't have enough time. I mean, these guys are busy. They're busy people. They didn't have enough time for what we had envisioned for the storyline to be. And so it was we were kind of stuck. We had 3-4 weeks to do this thing. Part of what we were working on the whole time was how to end the video. And one of my partner Rob's ideas was to end it with a rap video. And we presented that to the client, and the client was like, oh, okay, but let's focus on this thing. And it wasn't really talked about that much. But Rob and some of his coworkers, some of the people working on the video kind of kept working on that rap video and writing that rap song. And they were going to end it with this, and we were going to, this is that thing where we were working ahead to try to sell this thing because we felt like it was going to make it better. Well, we were left with nothing in 3 or 4 weeks except for this rap song that was written in text messages on the way to work between a bunch of people, not while they were driving. I think they were driving, but so we went back in and they presented the rap song, and it was kind of cool because we had luck and time on our hands. I mean, everybody was kind of throwing up their hands saying, I don't know what we're going to do, let's try it. Everybody was real leery of it. But this is what we ended up with.
Bowling Green, Falcon team, where my Falcons at? We got a new Stroh Center, and it go like GSU, GSU. Where my Falcons at? Roscoe, BG, Stroh Center, let's go. Kern Stroh came to BG way back in the 60s. He looked around and thought this place was nifty. Rocking the mic in his cardigan sweater, calling play-by-play straight up from Wapakoneta. When it comes to the D's, this man's in total control. Picking popcorn machines and choosing urinal bowls. He gave a cool 8 mil, his name is sure to survive, cause you can see it in lights from my 75. Bill frack, whack, smack on attack. Made cash and stacks, he's giving some back. 2 cold million mad Falcon support. He's laying it down for the Bill Frack court. This man is bombastic and classic, fantastic. No strings attached, no caveats and no asterisk. He bleeds BG, need we say anymore? If you ever forget it, his name is printed on the floor. His name is Schmidt Horse, 83% consonants. If you disrespect, you have to deal with the consequence. So he can't dunk, no he won't hit that 3, but he will melt your face with his philanthropy. He's bringing mad cash flow, straight frontin' for stroke. And now he's busting out rhymes like he's shelling out dough. Allen ain't no civilian, gave 1.7 million. And look at us now, we got the Schmidt Horse Pavilion. His name is Larry Miles, gave cash and pals, sporting Charles Taylors, rocking Argyles. He knows the game, y'all, he ain't no amateur. And back in the 50s, he was a student manager. Neil Young stopped searching for that heart of gold. Dude gave $1 million, case closed, I'm sold. We practice legit now, we ain't no barbarians. Put him on a Wheaties box, he built a court of champions. If you gave Andrew Jackson or a couple hundred pennies, this dream became reality with every single penny. Cause a brand new house is built brick by brick. Not to mention all the glass that make this place look sick. And all you students and teachers showing love from the bleachers. You Isaac, you Zumba, Zumba, Zumba preachers. Here's to a century of rolling along, repping orange and brown, and singing this song.
So out of thank you. So out of luck or desperation or whatever you want to call it, I kind of call it hard work that we went ahead and wrote that rap and had the guts to go present that and push that through. I mean, we got real lucky with a lot of exposure on that video, and it was picked up by ESPN and Huffington Post and all kinds of stuff. And I think everybody was really happy with the ending. But I credit that to working on a project, even though the client isn't all excited about it right up front, and going and selling it. You know, they didn't have a whole lot of choice, so it's kind of the caveat there. But I had a potential client call, this was a year ago or something, and asked about a job and asked if we would quote on a job. And then at the end of the conversation, they said, what's the Madhouse magic? I was taken aback, and I was like silent for like 5 minutes. And I said, there is no magic at all. I think you can probably all attest to this. It's just hard work. I mean, we do the research, we do the hard work, we pay attention to all the details, and we work really hard to get it to a certain point, and we don't leave any stone uncovered. We don't leave anything to chance. We try to really take care of everything along the way. I think that's what all good projects end up being, and not every project we do is a good project. We try to make them all good, but you know, we have a lot of variation in the things we do, just like everyone else. But the whole question about what the magic is, I think that misses our industry completely. I think it comes back to the artist thing. I really feel like it's about hard work and it's about solving problems. It's not about magic and painting some incredible masterpiece. That's not it. That's not what we do. We just work really hard at trying to solve problems.